it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest video. Today I'm going to share my finished mini journal zine from May and also set up my one from June. So I've got videos for all of the other journal zines and how to actually create them all listed on my channel, but I'll leave a link to the last one down below. So in my May zine video, I decorated the cover and I completed the first 3 pages. And on my Make a Difference, I've added some other strands and little things that I did throughout the month. I've also included a photograph of the canal we walked along because that had to go in there as an absolute highlight from the month. And I often get asked about the printer, and I think I mentioned this in my last video, but it's the Brother colour label printer or design and craft printer, and the quality, I'm always really happy with how the photographs come out. So I'll link that down below too. And the other things I included in here is my baby girl, my daughter turned 20, which is just unbelievable to me, and she's also now back from university for the summer, which I'm just so happy about, so that's there. And then I finished off by just doing a quick review of the month page. And I know I always say this, but I love seeing all these little zines together. I just think they're such a lovely size to create in, and only takes a few minutes just to be able to sort of get them set up and add a few details in there. And I'm also loving seeing how everybody else is setting up and using their zines every month. So if you are on Instagram, please do tag me in your photos there. I'm Journal with Purpose. I can't wait to see how you're getting on with all of your zines. So for June, I've already made the little zine itself and I've printed off a couple of photographs. So one of the things I definitely know I want to document already for June is my product range launching with London Gifties. I'm so excited about that, so that definitely has to go in there. And also I've printed off a photograph. One of the other creative projects I've been working on this month is the Index Card a Day challenge. And I mentioned this in one of my videos probably a couple of weeks ago now. But this is how I'm getting on with my index cards at the moment. Some of them I've been following along with the prompts, and with other ones I've just been having a go really at whatever I fancy. So I've really enjoyed this. It feels such a nice manageable size, a bit like the zines, to just do something creative every day. So I mix things up by just doing collage or a bit of watercolour. I've used some texture paste and really just enjoyed trying lots of different things out. And if you are interested in seeing me create 1 or 2 of these index cards, then please do just let me know. I'm more than happy to film 1 or 2 of my sort of creative sessions where I'm having a go at those. And I was talking about it over on Patreon because I'd really like to turn these into a journal somehow so that I've got the backs of these to write on. And I've been given some great ideas of how I might be able to do that. So that's kind of one of my creative projects for once I've finished that challenge. So for today's cover, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I've been asked a few times from people whether I would do something kind of mixed media or art journally. From my new book, I've got a few art journal pages in there. So I thought this would be a great size to start on. And again, if you enjoy that, I'm more than happy to do more kind of art journally pages in the future. The first thing I'm going to do is, because this is only printer paper, it is thick printer paper but still quite thin, I'm going to put a coat of Daler Rowney gesso on there just to try and firm that surface up a bit. And when I'm using gesso, I nearly always use quite an old brush because however well you wash it, you do often end up with your bristles just going a bit stiff. So I'm going to pop some paper under here. I know I'm going to be getting messy, and so I'm just going to prepare this surface so then I can come back and do a bit of jelly roll printing on here. Okay, so that's my coat of gesso complete. It's really helpful if you've got thinner paper. So if you wanted to have a go at art journaling in a book that's not really designed for it, then adding a layer of this I definitely recommend. And they come in big tubs and last for absolutely ages, and it just gives a little bit of extra strength to your paper. If you're working on something thick like card, you probably won't need it. So before I move on to the next stage, I'm just going to dry that off with my heat tool quickly and try and wash the gesso out of my brush. I'm now going to move that to one side for just a minute. And I'm going to use my brayer, my jelly plate, and also a stencil for this. And I've had this jelly plate quite a while now. They're a lot of fun to play with if you want to do some quick backgrounds on things and get some really interesting effects from them. So I'm going to use some acrylic paint for this. And I've got this Royal Talens Amsterdam acrylic paint. So I've picked two different shades of blue and a white. And I know that I'm getting really low on that white, so I've got another one on a standby. And I'm just going to put some blobs of paint on here to start with. And I like to go for kind of a square-ish to match the jelly plate. And I don't put lots of paint down because I'm not worried about having really thick layers for this, especially as it's going to be on the cover of my zine. And a little really does go a long way with this. Just going to see if I've got enough white in here. Perfect. And then the next thing I do is use my brayer to start spreading this paint around. And I'd like to do it in lots of different directions, so you're really moving that paint around, but I don't want just one solid colour. I still want all of those different colour paints to still be seen, but just mix in with each other a little bit. So that's probably as much as I'm going to do with that for now. And I'm then going to use my stencil and press this down on top of here to try and get some interesting marks. And use the brayer through that. Do the same down here. And you can see that's picked up some of those really interesting details in the paint that's on there. So I'm now going to transfer this over onto my zine. So I'll bring this back. And this is where I always get really nice and messy. So I'm going to just pick this up and start printing with it onto the cover of my zine. I'm really happy already with how that's transferring over. I quite like to leave some little bits of the white space, and I've got white paint in it anyway, so I would expect that. Because I don't want to press down. You could keep going until you've covered the entire area, but the more I press down, the more I'm going to lose some of those really interesting marks that we've got from the stencil. So say this is one of my favourite ways to get a really quick background on an art journal page. So I think I'm going to just leave that as is. I'm happy that's got enough colour on it. So I'm just going to go and wash my hands, get sorted out, and then come back and add some more decoration. So I've just tidied up and dried that off a little bit. And so in my new book, towards the back, where I've got some of these backgrounds here, again, a lot of this is going to have been done with the jelly plate. Just using different coloured inks and playing around with them on the backgrounds, because you can then add lots of different things on top if you want to. or you can just leave them exactly as they are, because I think they're so lovely and effective just by using the acrylic paint. I'm just gonna, I thought I'd have quite a lot of paint on the inside of here, but that's fine, so it still folds over nicely. It's warped a tiny bit, but I'm not too worried about that, because I think by the time I've started writing on it and put other things in it, that's going to toughen that up just a little bit. So only other thing, so I thought, I recently treated myself to these beautiful soft pastels from Jackson's Art. They're their own brand and they're really lovely. I thought I might just add a couple of shades in here just for a little bit of contrast with some different colours, not too much. I've been playing around with these loads on the index cards and I think they're just beautiful. I bought some cheaper pastels, I think a few Christmases ago, and I was really disappointed with them. There were some sort of cheap ones on Amazon and it nearly put me off using pastels, but then I'd seen so many other people use them. I thought, no, I think I do need to just spend a little bit more and see how I get on, and I'm so pleased I did, because I can see they're going to last for ages, so I'm hoping that's going to be quite a good investment in the end. So yeah, I've just got a few little streaks of colour on there. Okay, I'm going to have a look in my pot. When I print off my Patreon printables each month, there's always some quotes and things in there, and I cut those out as well as the little journaling cards. So I'm just going to see what I fancy using on the front of here. I might go for Enjoy the Moment. Yeah, that's going to fit. Okay, let's go for that. I'm just going to use some Pritt Stick to put that down. I think I might just trim off these edges slightly because they come quite close to the spine and edge of the cover otherwise. Great, so I'm going to pop that on there. I use some Pritt Stick. And then I'm going to add the date, but otherwise that's my cover pretty much done, I think. Whether I'll decide to add anything else throughout the month, who knows? But if I do, obviously you'll see that in my video next month. And the same as I did with my May zine, I'm just going to add some little lines over the paper and onto the zine itself. But I hope you enjoyed seeing something a little bit different with the cover. If that is your thing, or you'd just like to learn a little bit more about some art journaling techniques, I'm more than happy to put up a few videos on YouTube. So one of the things with art journaling is there's so many different techniques and so many supplies, and it can get quite expensive. So I tend to limit myself with how much I want. So I've got gesso, acrylic paint, texture paste, stencils, my jelly plate and brayer, and they're the main things that I use. I'll often then add watercolour over the top of these sorts of backgrounds, or collage, so the sorts of things I use in my other journals anyway, because there's so many amazing techniques and it's really easy to want to have to sort of try out everything, but I think it's worth just thinking about a few basic supplies. These Royal Talens paints I find are great because they don't get too sticky, because some in art, if you use them in art journals, you'll find your pages stick together, but I don't have that problem with these, and Royal Talens very kindly sent me a set, and I've then gone on and bought other colours since because I get on so well with them, and they're only small, so I think only about £1 or £2 per tube. So I'd always start off with something small, and then if you like them, I'm about to buy some of the bigger tubes of some of the colours I know I use a lot. Okay, so for that I just used a black Muji gel pen, and I'm then going to see how well this writes onto the surface and add my June. So for this I'm using a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen with a firm nib. Okay, that's come out fine actually. So now I've got the cover done of my little zine, I'm going to move on to creating the first 2 pages with those photographs I showed you. Well, yeah, the first 2 haven't got any paint on. When it comes to those, what I might do is just put another layer of paint over them, or use washi tape or something around the outside. So once I get to those later in the month, I'll find somewhere, it might be decorative paper or something just to put over. So I'm going to start off first of all by doing a little page on the product launch. So I thought it would be nice to use some of the washi tape from my product range with Christine at London Gifties. So I'm going to use this blue one that's called Daisy Daydreams. I'm going to put that along the edge there. And just tidy up the corners. I've really enjoyed having lots of small creative projects on the go at the moment. I have times kind of where I want to do really big things and kind of engross myself in it, but at the moment having things like the little mini journal zines, the index cards, and each month on Patreon we've seen my little challenge books that we've been doing over there for a different challenge each month, and just having these small spaces to work on I find really encourages me to get going, because I know within about 20-30 minutes I could do an index card or a page in here, probably only 5 or 10 minutes for a page in here. And that really encourages me to just get going rather than feeling like it's too big a job. With the Brother printer, one thing I really like with the photos is it gives you a little edge always, so they're really easy to remove the backing. And because I'm not great at peeling the backs of things, so that's perfect for me. And I think I've probably printed this a little bit too large. Yeah, so I'm going to trim the edges off and see if that's enough. If not, I might have to just lose a little bit more off the edge. See, I printed these in the evening. Usually I'll be a bit more careful and make sure I'm getting the size that I want when I'm printing. Okay, I think that'll fit, but it's then going to look a bit strange with the white border on the top and bottom, so I'm going to cut those off too. Because again, with that Brother printer you can pick the size, because you've got different rolls of tape. You can pick how big you want your photos to be and kind of drag your tape along. So for this one I know I'll be fine because I've just done a square size for that. Okay, is this gonna fit? Perfect, okay. I didn't want to take it up into the top corner there because I'd have lost a little bit. So I'm just going to add some little circle doodles along the top there. I always like filling in little spaces with marks, could be circles, wiggly lines, crosses, little stitches, anything like that. I kind of wanted to include one of these floral stamps in there, so I'm going to leave myself enough space for writing. I reckon I will if I go for a small one. So I'm going to go, I think, for this flower here, because then I've got one of the washi tapes and one of my stamps from the product range, so that seems like a nice way to celebrate that in my little zine. Okay. That works, and for this I'm going to use some black Stays On ink. I think I'm just going to that in that corner here. Trying to work out which way round I want it. Okay. Okay, for some reason that hasn't come out so well. I wonder if it's because I've still got a bit of dampness on that cover on the other side. So I'm going to see whether I can line this up. If not, I will stamp onto something else and potentially stick it over the top. But let's see how we get on. Okay, that's better. That was reasonably accurate actually from my second one. But yeah, you'll find if you've got something moist that's seeping through, it can affect your stamping a little bit. But I'm happy with how that's come out now. So I'm going to clean off my stamp and then just add a little writing to that. And I think I'll just do the 2 pages in the zine today because I quite like knowing that I've got a few more pages left in there to add to later on in the month, because you never quite know what's going to happen. And I've got a few things coming up this month that I'm probably going to want to document in my zine as some key bits from the month. So for my journal writing, again, I'm just going to use a black Muji gel pen. Okay, so that's my writing done on there. I thought it might be nice to add a bit of colour to that flower, so I'm just going to get my pencils. I'm going to use my Brunzil pencils, and I think use 2 different shades of blue in here. Again, these pencils were sent to me by Royal Talons. I did some videos for them probably about a year, 18 months ago now. As you can see, I like these pencils a lot. They've been used a lot. They blend together really nicely. And it's one of the things I might look to see whether they've got some bigger selection of colours at some point, because I use these so much. So I've used the darker blue in the middle, and I'm then going to use just the lighter blue around the outside. And that should then hopefully tie in nicely with the blue washi tape I've used and the blue cover. Okay, so that's that page now done. So the final page I'm going to add is for this index card challenge that I'm working on. So I'll probably put the photo down there to balance it out with that side. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to add other decorations. Okay, I think I'm going to start by just adding the photo. Okay. And I might have a look through some of my stickers to see if I've got anything I want to add on here. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look through some of my stickers, because that's quite an awkward space that I've got left there, so I'd like to put something along the edge. So quite like These stickers were from Job's journal on Etsy, and I use them all the time. I bought a couple of sets and Job sent me lots more, and I'm forever using those in my journals. I think they're brilliant. Okay, I'm going to look for something else, probably bluish. And these are the stickers that I included for anybody who bought the book directly from me. And that's a little paintbrush, so that would tie in quite nicely with the index card challenge. And the index card challenge is hosted by Gypsy999, I think it is, on Instagram. And it's a 60-day challenge, so throughout all of June and July. If you're interested, it's definitely not too late to join. You just try and do an index card a day, and you can either follow along with the prompts she gives or not, just do your own thing. I have no idea if I will last the full 61 days, but I'm already really happy with what I've created. So I'm just going to see how far I get, not push myself if there's days where I can't get it done, but just see by the end of July how many index cards I've got. And as I mentioned, then see if I can turn them into some kind of journal or something so that I've got a use for them. Because I could just use them as journal tipping cards, but I do like the thought of them being actual journals as well. So I'm now just going to add a little journal writing about the index card challenge. Okay, so that's my second page done in here. Nice and quick and simple. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing it, 'cause it's something a little bit different. I've also changed the way I've been doing my videos a little bit. I used to add all of the voiceovers on later, but I've been trying to do it more real time and just cutting bits out that are repetitive, or me continually cleaning up in between messy projects. But you know, let me know how you most kind of like seeing things on here, because I'm always sort of trying to change things around a little bit. But I really hope you've enjoyed watching this, and as I said earlier, please do share your zines with me. I absolutely love to see what you're all up to. And as always, a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. I hope you're doing really well, and I look forward to speaking with you really soon in my next video.